How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of the Future Film Podcast. This is your host, Robert Fitzhugh, from the Dublin Smartphone Film Festival. This week we are talking to John Woosley, filmmaker from Kansas City, who has directed Alex and the Firefly and his upcoming Mason and Jay Save the World. Really good chat with John, really covering kind of what it's like to kind of emerge back into filmmaking after a number of years and to use a phone as a filmmaking device. We also get a little bit into Amazon Prime and how to get your stuff shown on Amazon Prime, and of course crowdfunding and how difficult or how easy that might be. It's a really, really good chat, and I learned tons from it, particularly around the Amazon stuff, which is something I think I'll be taking advantage of further down the line. But check it out and hope you enjoy.
Hey, John.
Hey, how are you?
Not too bad. How you getting on?
Doing well.
Good. Welcome to my festive-themed background. I thought I'd mix it up this time a little bit. So I set it up somewhere else. And I have a massive light with no diffuser, so I had to move it away because it's blinding me. How's things with you?
Doing well.
Where in the world are you calling in from?
So I'm in Kansas City.
Nice.
Kansas.
Yeah, nice. And the time is there?
Yeah, it's about 11:30 in the morning.
Okay, so you're up bright and early. It's 5:30 here, and it's pitch black, so it could be any time of the day. How are things with you? How are things going in the world of smartphone filmmaking?
Great, yeah. We're just in post-production on a little movie called Mason and Jay Save the World.
Is this a feature or is this a short?
It's a short. It's going to be about a 10-minute short.
Nice, because you sent over footage. Actually, if you just want to kind of let people know what it's about, and then first and foremost, and then I'll go into it. So, what is Mason Jay Save the World all about?
Yeah, it's about two brothers, about 10 and 12 years old. They steal their father's drone, take it for a joyride, and when flying around the neighborhood, they discover a dark secret in the neighborhood and have to decide what to do about it.
And I'm assuming this is based on true story. No. Yeah. Where did the idea come from?
So I was just kind of looking around I've got an office here in my basement. And I was, I had just finished a movie called Alex and the Firefly. And I was, wanting to kind of write something new. And I was looking around, I just read this great book called Like Brothers by the Duplass brothers. Kind of their autobiography. And I was looking around my basement and I was like, what object do I have that I can make a movie out of? And I looked over in the corner and I've got a drone sitting over there and I was like, perfect. There's got to be a story about a drone that I can use. And the Like Brothers book was kind of inspirational for, about two brothers and sibling rivalry and that sort of thing. And that's kind of where the idea came from.
And you sent me on a clip. I know the film's not released. You sent me on a clip which had an incredible effect in it. Did you, because are you shooting, what are you shooting it on, first and foremost?
So we shot the film on iPhone XS.
Yeah.
And then, all the drone footage was from Phantom 4.
And how are you doing the effects? Because the effect looked really cool. I don't want to go into what it is, but it looks very cool.
Yeah, thanks.
And I leaned forward at the screen and I was like, how the hell did you do that? Because it looks, that's computer generated, yeah?
I don't know, is it?
Because it looks like a physical object.
Yeah, doesn't it look great?
Yeah, it looks like something sitting in someone's back garden. So.
Yeah. So we've got a visual effects artist who did all the visual effects for us. He did them in After Effects.
Oh, nice. And how long does it take you, your post-production now, how long did the whole shoot take?
We shot it in 2 days, one weekend.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
No, because it just, how do you find, so you Lighthouse Pictures, am I correct?
Yeah, Lighthouse Limited. Yeah.
Lighthouse Limited. That's your production company? Production
it
studio?
Is.
Yeah, and you're doing everything on phones?
Yeah, so starting with the last film that we did.
Yeah.
So Alex and the Firefly. So that was the first actual short film I'd made in about, I don't know, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So, I hadn't made a movie in a while, and I was just kind of browsing the internet one day a couple of years ago and started reading about Tangerine and this BMW commercial that was shot on an iPhone, and I had the same kind of inspiration that I got when I first started making movies, which was when digital cameras came out, and mini DV tapes and all this stuff, and I'm like, it really makes me want to get out there and make another movie. And I just love what's possible with the camera, with the device. So for me, as of right now, I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. I mean, that'd be kind of my angle, if you will, is I'll make movies on my iPhone.
Yeah, but it's cool as well because it's accessible. Like, I don't know, what was your backstory when you originally got into film? Were you a student and you were looking to study film and you were making film and then kind of drifted away from it, or?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'd always been interested in it. I started making movies when I was like 12 years old. Studied film in undergrad, and then I went to film school for a year. And then decided, okay, I don't want to be a starving artist. So kind of started doing some other things and, kind of got away from it a little bit. And then just gradually a couple of years ago, started getting back into it.
And does the idea of like picking up your phone make it seem a little bit kind of easier, less kind of a hurdle to kind of, where you kind of go, when you're thinking of equipment, for me personally, when I'm thinking of equipment and stuff like that, I used to have my camera, I'd be like, but with my phone, I'm a little bit more likely to launch into something because I kind of know that I don't need as much gear, or maybe that I don't need as much gear, but maybe I'm under the illusion that I don't need as much gear because it's such a tiny device. And then I start it and then I realize I need more as I go. But
right. For me, it was more about the challenge of it because it's actually more challenging in some ways to shoot on an iPhone than it would be just to get like a professional camera and like all this other stuff, right? Yeah. Because the technology is more unproven, I would say. Yeah. So, if you're trying to get a certain result, the same kind of result you could get with like a Red camera or something like that, right? There's just so much additional technical know-how. So it is in some ways more challenging, which to me was exciting to try to do.
Yeah, I suppose you have all those limitations and you got to kind of figure out how to work within them to come up with something that's kind of on par or that looks particularly consistency. I find sometimes is a struggle from shot to shot, but that's an art in itself of figuring that out. But like, what was your first film, Alex and the Firefly? How long? Like, what was the process for that you started getting that set up and ready to go? And that's 15 minutes long, if I remember correctly. I watched it. So,
so the cut I sent you is 15. There's a 33-minute version. Oh, okay. It's more of like a TV pilot, and that's on Amazon Prime in the US and the UK. Yeah. So, your viewers can check that out now. So it's about 33 minutes. So that one was a much longer process, right? I mean, we were shooting mostly like Fridays and weekends, started shooting in like July of 2017. And I think we shot the last day in like November. So it took a long time. And then post took a long time as well. And that was a huge learning experience for me because I'd never shot on a phone before. And so I learned so much from doing that I was able to apply to this other film. But post took a long time, and it was part of the post production took a long time because we did a lot of ADR. We had a lot of really shit audio that we had to fix.
And what was that? What was the reason for that? Do you think is because you were learning as you go in terms of audio on a phone, or was it just you were outdoors and it was windy?
It was all of the above, and I was cheap and didn't hire a boom operator. So it's like, well, fix it in post kind of a thing. So we did, and it was fine.
How were you recording sound for it then?
So on that, I had like one of those Rode Micro Minis just mounted on the camera, and it worked most of the time. But we did have some very windy outdoor stuff, and we shot some stuff in a park, and of course, there's a lawnmower going and all that kind of stuff. We had to loop, but turned out really good. You won't even notice.
It's funny because sound is so funny because we shot a thing a couple of years ago, and it was supposed to be a detective film, and it was supposed to be set in the 1920s, hard-boiled, black and white. We found this incredible set in Dublin. It was like it was an old building from the early 1900s, and it looked the part. And the minute we went to press action on the first scene, there was a bar underneath us, and it was like close to St. Patrick's Day. And they just started, and it was like 11 a.m. and they just started blasting music. And they just blasted music for the entire shoot. And there was nothing we could do about it. It was short. We were shooting one day. So we had to remove it all. But we thought we were absolutely screwed because we were like, the music keeps changing. It's not even repetitive. It keeps changing in volume, stuff like that. But we managed to get rid of it. But it's just amazing what you can do. It just takes so much longer to go in and kind of tidy it all up, particularly sound, and you're screwed with sound. If it's a bad visual, you're okay, but you're screwed with sound. But I was, and like, so you learned so much from that. So how did you record sound on the new one?
So we had a boom operator. He had like, digital recorder with them. And yeah, we had to sync up all the sound later, but so much easier. Nothing we had to ADR, lifesaver. So don't skimp on sound.
Yeah, that's a valuable lesson. Do not skimp on sound. And I had a question though. You said it's on Amazon Prime. I'm really interested in that process. To take your short for had you the 33-minute? Had you designed it as a when you say you shot it and it was 33 minutes long? Had you designed it as in to make a series out of it, or was it always just going to be a once-off?
It was always going to be a once-off, but given the time that it turned out to be about 34 minutes, it can kind of work as a TV pilot.
Yeah.
So we submitted it to a lot of festivals as a pilot. But what we found was that length is really hard for festivals to program, which you read about all the time, right?
Yeah.
And you, as a festival programmer, know that, right? I mean, it's very difficult.
Yeah, I know. I remember. Sorry, just on a tangent. I met a guy at a class, and he was like, "I want to make a short," and I was like, "Cool. What kind of running time are you hoping for?" And he was like, "I'm thinking 60 minutes." And I was like, 60? Well, you might as well just throw on an extra 20, 25 and go for a feature, or cut it down to 50 minutes. But yeah, 33 is a funny time because you can't really. It's a difficult one to place somewhere. Most of the stuff that I get to the festival is between, we have a maximum 15 minutes in length, but we rarely get things that are 15 minutes in length anymore. And with the first time we ran the event, I was worried because within the first 4 months, most of the stuff we got was 3 to 6 minutes long. And I was concerned I wouldn't have enough content to program an entire event. So it's kind of trying to split that difference. But yeah, 33, I'd imagine, is a weird number. And is that the pushback you were kind of getting? Was that your film was just a bit too not long enough or not short enough?
I mean, you don't really know, right? There's not a lot of transparency in why a film wasn't selected.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, so the 15-minute version came from, I don't know if you know, Susie Patello over at the San Diego. Yeah. So I sent the film to Susie, and she's got time requirements too. It's either a feature that's over 50 minutes or 60 minutes, or it's a short that's under 10. I'm like, well, look, we're kind of right in the middle of this, but I think this is a really good movie.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to take a look at it. And she watched it, and she's like, yeah, it's good, but one, I can't show it because it doesn't meet the rules. But her advice was, I think there's a better movie in here that's 15 minutes long. If you can cut it to 15 minutes. We'll show it. We'll invite you as a special guest speaker, and you can show the film. And I pushed back. I'm like, no, it's this length for a reason. There's no way to cut it. And after I got over myself, I went back and we cut it down. And my partner and I, we just cut the shit out of it. Had every little thing we could. We got it down to 15 minutes, and it is. I do think it is. It's a different movie. It's certainly different than the 33-minute version, but it is a good movie, and it works well. And then it got into more festivals after that with a shorter length.
I suppose that's that kill your darlings thing. I suppose that is the trade-off. But from an audience perspective, if people really enjoy the 15-minute version, well, then you've succeeded. You know what I mean? Even if it doesn't contain all the elements that you would like in it. And did you have to cut major plot stuff, or was it just additional?
It was more of just, there was probably one element we cut. So in the 33-minute version, Alex's father plays an important role in the story. He's got several scenes, and has an important kind of backstory, I guess, to the overall movie. So we just cut all of that out. So in the 15-minute version you watched, he's not in there at all, and you don't miss him because you don't know.
You don't know who he is.
So you don't know what you're missing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't say anything, but that was part of it, what we cut. And then it was a lot of condensing, kind of moving around. The scene that starts the movie, actually, in the 15-minute version, there's the two main characters are in the boys' bedroom. They have a quick chat. That scene actually isn't even in the 33-minute version. So we were actually able to take a scene that we deleted from the longer version and repurpose it to use in the shorter version to start the movie. So
that's an art in itself when you have to kind of restructure and rethink everything from the ground up. And how long did that whole process take to kind of rejig the whole thing?
Not very long, maybe a couple weeks.
Nice. And I'm very curious about the Amazon process. Did you just shop that out to Amazon and shop that around and say, hey, listen, will you pick it up? Or what's the process behind that?
So I hate to give away the secret sauce, but actually, Amazon has a video publishing platform called Amazon Video Direct, and anyone can go on there, and as long as you've got a short that's been at a festival, that's won awards, self-publish onto their platform in the US and the UK. So it's only 2 territories. If you want more territories, there's a bunch of aggregators out there that can get you on a bunch of different countries and things like that. But it's a good way to get your film on a very notable platform. That's
something that people listening would really like, because I always see people who get it on Amazon and stuff like that. And I'm like, cool, fair play. They went out and they think, but there is it's impressive. Do you know what I mean? Just to say it, my film's on Amazon Prime, it's impressive. So to be able to kind of load that and to be able to have that thing is kind of great. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I saw you had DVDs and everything. I was going through. By the way, your social media is really, really good.
Oh, thank you.
The one thing, so a lot of stuff I talk about, especially on this and at class and stuff, is about social media, and it's about kind of detailing the steps of everything. And I was looking at your social media for Mason J, and I was able to. Yeah. There's all these little things are covered. Do you know what I mean? Like even there was a cool one you had with the concept design art and the actual finished product, and even seeing the two of those together, stuff like that is really, really good. It's really, really insightful. And it really gives you a complete picture of what was going on and what you were doing. So yeah, that's why I thought it was cool. And I was going through it and I saw boxes of DVDs for Alex and Firefly and another one. I was like, oh, cool. So there's definitely a whole kind of image that comes with that when you have all those physical things, when you have this kind of detailed social media and stuff like that. And it really helps. I have a really good understanding of what your film is about and the effort that went into making it. And I think stuff like that is really, really, really important, especially when it comes to like festivals and selling it and stuff like that. It gives people a really good insight into what it is. But have you, in terms of your kind of social media for Mason J, are you just kind of everything and anything, or do you have a plan? Or did you sit down with a plan from the word go and say, this is how I'm going to...
Not really. No, there's no plan. It's just kind of, let's put something out there every few days. Honestly, we could do a lot more with it, but there's just not enough time.
Yeah, it's funny when you're making stuff. You never think to actually do stuff like that. I forget that a lot. It always comes to you. That's why it's better to have someone there to do it for you, almost, so you don't have to think about it. But no, I just thought it was really good, and it's just something I talk a lot to students about it, about sitting down and kind of having a coherent plan. And even if you don't have a coherent plan laid out, you understand what you're using it for, and that's kind of to give people an insight into how it's done and stuff like that. And I thought it was really, really good. In terms of kind of, you don't have to give me figures and stuff like that, but in terms of financing and stuff like that, is there a relatively large budget gone into Mason J, or is it something that you're kind of doing on relatively inexpensive? Or because it seems from the 15-minute from the clip I watched, it seems like money has gone into it. It looks very impressive.
Sure.
So
yeah. Well, so let me ask you this: what would you think the budget was?
Oh God, I don't know. It's so funny because when you use simple things like aerial shots and stuff like that from a drone, all of a sudden the production value rockets up, and then you have that incredible effect. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like you phrased that question as if it's going to be relatively cheaper than I have in my head. But I would assume, given the amount of money I've spent on short films that do not have the production value yours has, I would say it is a little bit. It is not cheap. We'll say. I would say it's like a couple of grand. We'll say.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so our budget was about $5,000.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Jeez, I've spent more than that on stuff that does not look as good as that. So I spent more than that on crap I wouldn't show anybody. But and I have a lot of crap I wouldn't show anyone. But no, but I mean that's cool. And do you find is that self-financed yourself? Are you financing yourself? Or are you off? You get people to help you? Or?
So Alex and the Firefly, I self-financed that one. Yeah. Because I hadn't made a movie in a while. I'm like, who is going to actually give me money to do something that I haven't done in a while with no real track record recently. So I self-financed that one. And then the idea was, can I use this to motivate people to contribute to a crowdfunding campaign for a new movie?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. So I was able to, help motivate some of the audience members. And then, obviously additional motivation for friends, family, and strangers to give money to this new campaign. So we did crowdfund, we raised all the money for it. So I self-produced Alex and the Firefly, just because I wanted to do it on my own, and there wasn't really anyone I trusted locally to produce for me. But this one, I had a woman named Beth Wickman, who I've known for 10 plus years. She helped a lot in Alex and the Firefly, but she doesn't live in Kansas City, so she couldn't produce the movie just because of the long shooting schedule. But this one, we're going to do it over a weekend, so she was able to produce the film, and she's a fantastic producer. She produced a couple of my other shorts when I was in California, so she did a great job managing the budget and just making sure all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. But it was important to us to use a SAG low budget agreement. It just raises the caliber of the actors you're able to get, especially when you work in a market like Kansas City where you don't have access to a huge talent pool. So, we worked with SAG and, got some really good talent, I think, for the movie.
And how did you find? Because I'm really curious, because I was always I had thought about crowdfunding before in the past, and how did you find that whole process?
It's tough.
It's like a job in itself. I heard.
It really is. And and if you watch like all the Seed and Spark videos, and that's who we went through, and you watch their their tutorials, their podcasts, you read interviews with people that have done it. Everybody says like this is harder than making the movie in a lot of ways, because it's full time. You got to post on social media all the time, and it's a lot of work, and it really is, and it's exhausting.
And how long did you run that for? That was how long was that campaign?
I think it was about 30 days. And what's interesting though is we started the campaign after we shot the movie.
Oh, right.
It was a little bit of a risk, but at least at the same time we had some things we could already show. Hey, like whether you give us money or not, this is happening. We're going to make this thing happen. So a little bit of a risk, but obviously.
So was that a conscious choice? Was it just kind of like we need a way to pay for this, we'll try this, or was it like you were always going to go down that road?
It was kind of a mix of things. There was like one perfect weekend that was going to work to shoot the movie. So there was just no way to finish the crowdfunding campaign before we shot the movie. So we started a little bit before, but we went ahead and shot the movie while the campaign was still happening. So.
Yeah, it's impressive, because I like, from what I understand, I know so I always use this example in classes and stuff. There is a movie that I know called Alaska, the movie. I don't know what the movie's about. I could not tell you, but I know from the social media, because they chart, a bit like yours, they chart every different stage. You get real behind the scenes stuff you would never have thought of. But I know that they had ran a crowdfunding thing. I think at the time they were looking for 64,000 or something like that, which they made. But the director, the lady who runs it, she ended up doing kind of ebooks on how to do campaigns. She does a lot of YouTube videos. But that's the one thing I took away from it. I was like, because you would often think, you do a video, you send out a couple of posts, and it's done. But I mean, it's really hard work. And apparently, unless you have, from what I know, unless you have a team, or someone if you try to do it on your own, your reach is so short. So you need kind of a team. You need people to kind of be able to spread out as far as you can possibly go. But I just thought it was interesting, because that's, to me, I wouldn't have the bandwidth with everything that I do. I wouldn't have the bandwidth to take on something like that. But and the mental fortitude, I couldn't plan that far ahead. But no, it's impressive that you were able to do it, and you were able to get it so quickly. And did you notice the peaks and troughs for that? You do it in the first 3 weeks. It's like, we're doing really well the first 2 weeks, and then it kind of dips, and you're like, we're not going to make it, and then it rockets towards the end, or was it a gradual?
Yeah. It was just kind of all over the place. Some days we were way above the target. Some days we were below. If you look at kind of a daily amount you need to raise, so kind of all over the place. But I was confident we would get there one way or another. And we did. So
half the battle. If you're going to get there, you put in the work. But no, that's really impressive. It's impressive that I just find it great that you kind of picked up your phone after years and were like, I'm going to. But you seem to have structures around it, and you seem to have a plan, and you're moving forward. Have you got a plan for after Mason J? Have you got another movie in the pipeline?
Not yet. I mean, we're still just trying to finish this one and see, what happens here. It's interesting. I mean, this is a very, very different movie than Alex and the Firefly. Yeah. So this one we really wrote consciously with the idea of, okay, what will really get viewers excited, interested, and festivals interested as well. That's why it's about 10 minutes in length. Right? Okay, this is the perfect length for film festivals. It's different. We put the screenplay out to some contests before we produced it.
Nice.
So we already got traction with the screenplay. So we're like, okay, we know the screenplay is good. Because it won some awards, got some short lists on some different screenplay contests that are notable, like Blue Cat was a quarterfinalist on there, and some other ones. So we know the screenplay is good. We worked really hard on the script, and then we've got it coming out. We feel like we've got a product that's really good for festivals.
No, that's really, really good, and it's also the content is what it's about, because a lot of people kind of it's light. I'm not saying necessarily it's a comedy, but it's light, and a lot of people that sort of lightness is missing a lot from festivals, where you tend to get really heavy material. I can't speak for every festival. I can just speak from my own experience. We tend to get very heavy material, and then every once in a while, like, something light comes along, and it becomes something that you want to program, you want to see audiences really respond to, because it's light and it's entertaining, and it's such a contrast to everything that's come before it. Because a lot of people just kind of go, I'm going to make a horror movie, or I'm going to make like a gritty drama, and comedy and lightness is hard, but if you do it, you stand out from the crowd, because you're sort of bereft of those things. And I still remember, like, we get a lot of submissions for festivals, but it's still, I think I mentioned this before in another one. There was one that we got in called Nap Chat. And I remember it so well, because basically it was like 1 minute long, and it was the director talked to his sleep. And what he did was he recorded the audio. He recorded himself talking in his sleep, and then he turned it into a script for a movie. So one character is talking normally, and the other character is just speaking what he says in his sleep. And it's using the audio from when he's asleep. But it ends up being a very funny, very random minute of comedy. Do you know what I mean? That is easy to program, and it fits. It stands out from everything else you're getting. So it's just interesting. If you're going to go light, it's a really easy way for it to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, because you want something that's memorable, right? Because there's so much heavy stuff, and it's like, okay, maybe it looks nice, but then you forget about it instantly because there's nothing super memorable about it.
I know, and I remember a specific short that came through. I won't say which one it was, just in terms of running time and content. And I remember it was 20 minutes long, and it was in our first year we ran the event, and it was one of the only longer submissions we got, so we showed it. It was 20 minutes long. But you got the impression that they wanted to make something along the lines of, say, like Seven or Zodiac or something like that. But they landed in this weird number where it was like not too long and not too short. But you could feel the audience, you could literally feel the 5 minutes extra. The audience were just kind of like shuffling in their seats and stuff like that. So it was a weird thing, but it was also very heavy. And it was just the two of them combined. And I remember it for that reason. I was just thinking, God, it would be nice if it was tight and short. And you're just almost crying out for levity every once in a while. But based on the submissions and stuff that have come through this year, you're starting to see more and more people kind of taking a different approach. But there is still and there is a place for kind of heavy drama and stuff like that. It's just that when 90% or 80% of the stuff that you get is heavy, when something like Mason J comes along, you're like, oh my God, yeah, that stands out, and jumps straight to the top of the list. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But, and drama is hard to do well, right? Because drama is like one of the quick giveaways of poor acting, right? Because if you have actors that do drama poorly, it's going to come across as corny and not realistic. And that was the hard thing on Alex and the Fireflies. We did have a lot of drama. I mean, there were some light moments and some comedic moments, but we did have a lot of drama. And it's like, if we didn't have really strong actors, this is going to come across as like a screwball, ridiculous comedy, which it's not trying to be, So it's acting is I read something recently that like 50% of directing is casting, and it's definitely true, because you got to have really good actors to start with.
And how was the casting process for the two leads?
On Mason and Jay?
Yeah.
So it was, we didn't have a huge pool to start with, because we're looking for very young actors, in the Kansas City metro area. So I'd say we had about 12 people come and audition, and we auditioned them in different pairs. So we had, different ones try out for Mason, different ones try out for Jay.
But you got to get that chemistry just right.
Yeah, we got to get the chemistry right. Yeah. So we auditioned them in pairs and different combinations to find the one that worked.
Nice. And do you like working with actors? Sometimes people don't. But sometimes directors are a little bit hands off. They're more technical. I personally always love working with actors. I prefer working with actors than the technical side of it. I always just like kind of engaging and talking to actors on set and stuff like that. But I was always just curious, because some people, I know some people who are just very technical and would sometimes treat actors almost like human props, and you're like, no, don't do that, don't do that.
Can't do that.
yeah. But I know people who would have done that. But good.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, no, I definitely like working with actors. But for me, so these last two movies, I've both shot them myself. So it's that balance between the personal and the technical side. And the hard thing is like when you're shooting, you don't have as much time to be with the actors and to get that, because you have got to balance the technical side as well. So that's the one challenge, kind of balancing both of those things.
You worked with like younger actors for the last two movies.
Which I tell you never to do, right?
Yeah. And you went straight for it.
Broke that rule.
And how did you find that whole experience?
So the one advantage I would say, they say don't work with kids because it's hard. But the other thing is like, if you think about, because a lot of filmmakers are not in Hollywood, they're not in New York, right? They're in other cities and other towns, right? Where the talent pool may be smaller, right? But if you think about the most talented people in your area are going to be younger people, right? Because if they're super talented, and they're older, they'd have left already, right?
Yeah, fair enough. That's a good way to look at it.
You actually have a really strong talent pool of young people if you can tap into it and figure out how to get them excited. So, we found really great talent in both films because they're not here. But, if you look at Alex and the Firefly, I mean, two of those actors have already moved out to LA.
Yeah,
so it just goes to show you, right?
You just caught them.
You got to catch them at the right time before they leave.
Nice. And were you like, was it an open casting type thing you did, or for the latest one for Mason J, was it kind of an open casting call and you'd listen to anyone and everyone, or were you kind of working through agencies and stuff?
So we went through agencies. There's like 3 or 4 big agencies in Kansas City. For both movies, we sent out a call. We sent out a script. We asked for video submissions back.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then we pared that down to the people we wanted to come in and read in person for us.
And what was the total number of kind of people?
I mean, I'd say I think we had twice as many video submissions as people we had come in and read.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
For Mason and Jay.
I remember, again, not naming any names, I remember I worked with a director a long time ago and he was casting. We were doing the whole casting process, and I remember there was a young girl there, and he literally went in front of everyone. He went, "You were great. You weren't great. I don't need you. I don't need you." And we were like, what? And we had to take him inside the room. I was like, you can't do that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was literally like, you can go home. I don't need you for the rest of the day. You can stay maybe. And I was like, you've got him all in the room, and you're just like pitting them against each other. But it was just a very strange experience. But no, that's really great. So when do you think you'll have Mason J wrapped up and good to show the world?
Hopefully very, very soon. We made some minor tweaks the last couple of weeks, just tightening up a couple of the shots. And when you do that and the music is already finished, there was a couple little places where we need the music to be slightly retimed. Yeah. Just a couple of the cues. And then we're adding a cue we didn't have before just to try to layer in some additional music in one area. So it should be a couple of weeks. But these things, when you're working with, our post-production folks are spread out all over the place. So our composers in California, our sound designers in Wisconsin, our visual effects guy is in Sweden. I'm in Kansas City. So any minor tweak we have, if it involves all 4 people, it just takes a little bit of extra time, right? Because everybody has to redo some piece of what they did. So we're very close, though. Very close.
Nice. And do you think sometimes it would be nice to be able to just sit next to somebody and be like, or
just do it. Yeah,
because I know sometimes people work remotely, just really want, like, there's a benefit. Sometimes you just really want to sit in a room, because sometimes creativity sparks from that as well when you're sitting there together and you're like, oh, we didn't try this, try that, and we'll see. But hey, listen, if it works, it works. Yeah,
it is hard, right? Because if I ask my sound designer to tweak an effect, she goes and tweaks it and then sends it back to me, and then I have to listen to it. Versus if I were just sitting there next to it, she could just hit play and I could be like, okay, let's fix it a little bit more or something, So,
but maybe if you're looking at it a positive way, you're less likely to kind of, hey, try this, try that. The changes you're making are more kind of thought through and stuff like that. Yeah, because you'd only end up being like, why don't we try adding in this noise, just see what it sounds like, and you'd lose a lot of time. So there's a positive to that. But no, that's great. So when you plan to have this wrapped up, and then you're going to run the festival circuits, and you're going to get out there and kind of show the world what it is. Well, that's great. We'll be sure to send on a copy or something. I'd love to be able to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it's done, be very interested. Because I'm going to watch that clip again, because I literally was leaning into my phone going, what is that thing? And how did he do that? Because it looks really, really impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I'll share posters and share links and things like that when you are ready to share it with the world. And
yeah, absolutely. Direct people to our website. You can read a little bit about both movies. You can buy Alex and the Firefly if you're interested to own it. It's for sale. We've got posters for sale for both the movies as well. Our poster for Mason and Jay, please do share because I think it's great.
It's really good.
We had an artist do it in the style of Drew Struzan, who did all of the Star Wars posters and
it's got that
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's going to be a fun movie. It appeals to people who are young at heart. It's going to go after that sci-fi audience. There's a ton of sci-fi references in the movie, so it'll be fun for people to try to spot those. And it was shot on a film, so an iPhone. So we've got a few different ways to go after festivals and audience members.
Cool.
So we're excited to share it with people.
Interesting seeing it. Okay, cheers, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
There you have it. Absolutely very, very interesting interview with John there. Learned tons. Hopefully you did too. Thanks very much for listening. And hopefully you'll join us again next week. We have a couple of more very, very interesting guests coming up. So we'll keep you posted on that. And if you want to find out more about us, check us out at the Dublin Smartphone Film Festival, DubSmartFF, on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks, guys. Bye.